right, Nathan Bunnett, episode 34. I'm not going to lie, guys. I am excited for this episode. I have a lot to talk about in this episode. I think this is going to be a really good one. But just to get some stuff out of the way, some of you hardcore fans may be asking, where is the Popovich newspaper that I had up here? I do still have the newspaper, but unfortunately the frame that was up here fell down and the glass broke, so I have to reframe it. But I do still have the newspaper. It's literally like right here under my bed, as well as the Champs newspaper also fell down. So that's why it's like on the floor right now, so that it doesn't fall and break like the Popovich one. And also, yes, I did just get out of the shower as well, so that is why my hair looks like this. All the audio listeners are probably really confused why I'm talking about this right now, but also, kind of awkward. I said I was hyped to post a lot in October, and it is October 22nd as I record this, and I have only posted a video on October 1st and October 12th. So I kept saying, oh yeah, I'll upload a video here soon. And then I just kept working or doing homework and putting off a video. And October just sort of zoomed by. So yeah, October went by really fast. So it's my favorite month for creating videos. But unfortunately, October went fast, man. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get into it. Because I know obviously y'all want to talk about basketball, not talk about my life. So let's go ahead and get into it. And let me move the chat box here real quick. What's up, man? First time viewer. I assume you're the one from Clan's chat, probably. Clan's Discord. Because I'm actually going to bring that up later. So hopefully you stick around, man. So obviously, season started. Let's get into it, man. I'm excited. So let's talk about some of the stuff that happened in the game. So I was not able to catch the games live, but I did watch because I was working and everything, obviously, as I always say. But I did not only watch the highlights, but I somehow got like full videos of some of the games. So I skimmed through the games, and then also I read the NBA articles about the games. So I can still give my takes on the games and everything. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So the first one I'm going to talk about here. Before that, I completely forgot. I'm so sorry, guys. I do have some other videos that are upcoming that I'm really excited for. I think it's going to be one of my best videos that I put out. So definitely go give that some love. As well as we are 28 subscribers away from 500 last time I checked. We are on 472, so definitely if you're listening on audio, go to the YouTube and subscribe, or if you're watching this and you aren't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. You know, all that cliche YouTuber announcement stuff, but it really does help. And so the first one I got on here is the Warriors Nuggets. So the Warriors Nuggets I actually did watch a little bit of live. I came home after work pretty late. Or no, it wasn't from work. I came back from school late because there was a school event. And it was about 10:30-ish. And I saw the game was on, so I turned it on. And I was surprised to see that the Warriors were not doing so hot. I think I turned it on with a little bit left in the second quarter, or it may have been the second half, but the Warriors were losing by quite a bit. They only had about 40 points or so, and they were really struggling. And the reason I think that is really because of defense. And what do I mean by that? It's because of the championship. The Warriors obviously have more attention on them. And everybody is known for years, obviously, with how much Steph Curry and Clay have been dominating, how many championships they have, that the Warriors are going to be the team to watch out for whenever you play them. But I think that's really been elevated to the next level because they won a championship recently. And that really just goes for all teams. Like players, or teams, I should say, uh, came up with more defensive strategies against the Bucks after they won their championship. There were more defensive strategies taken against the Lakers after they won their championship, more against the Raptors after they won their championship. And obviously, there's other things that go into that, like Kawhi left the Raptors right after their championship. The Lakers just basically imploded on themselves after their championship. But regardless, the teams took more efforts, obviously, to stop these teams because they had just won a championship. And specifically speaking, I watched them. They were guarding Jordan Poole very, very closely. And again, I read the NBA article, so I don't want it to seem like I'm just like regurgitating what they've said, or I'm like plagiarizing or anything and just repeating what they said. But obviously, I do my research for these podcasts, and I did like what they had to say. And basically, what they put it as kind of like what I said with there's more the way they worded it is they said there's more respect to Poole's game now because he is more of a vet player now. And so they were guarding him more intensely. They weren't letting him get more open shots as he did last time, that sort of thing. And so it was really interesting to see the way they guarded Curry, the way they guarded Jordan Poole, and just the Nuggets played really good defense. However, there was a play that scared me, and again, the NBA themselves also talked about it. The fact that Jokic actually almost got injured on one of the plays, and that would have ended the Nuggets' season like right at the beginning, obviously, because Jokic just won the MVP. They're getting Murray back. They're getting Porter Jr. back. But again, if they lose Jokic, like that's it. Like their wins at that point are basically cut in half. So that was really scary. And then Draymond also went and checked on Jokic right after. And Jokic was fine, which was good. But that could have been really scary. And then also Bruce Brown being picked up. Bruce Brown playing a really good role on the team. And also with the whole Draymond thing, I know he let Draymond released an apology video, or something like that. I haven't watched it yet. Maybe if we have time at the end of this podcast episode, if say we're short on time, because I try and make these an hour again. Say we're at like 45 minutes or like 50 minutes. I'll see how long the apology is, and we can maybe do like a live reaction to it or something. Because again, I haven't seen it, and then I'll give my thoughts. But we'll have to see. But the way the NBA worded it, which I really liked, was the Warriors sort of shrugged it off with Draymond will be Draymond. And again, that's what I said in my last video. And I was worried that people were actually going to take it as a hot take. But I had said that, the Draymond story is bigger than it needs to be simply because of the fact that it's a story. Like, it's off season. It's starting to, like, people, the season was about to start, so people's eyes are sort of starting to move towards basketball, but the season hasn't officially started yet. And obviously they have to compete with baseball playoffs. They have to compete with soccer that's going on, the World Cup coming up and everything. And so whenever this Draymond story happened, NBA and a lot of media were like, oh, let's jump on this, and we can really bring attention to this. And so they started blowing it up more than it needed to be. And again, I addressed that more on the previous episode, so go watch that. But I really didn't think the Draymond thing was like a huge deal. And it seemed that the Warriors didn't think so either, which is good. Because, again, that's just Draymond being Draymond. Draymond has always been a more aggressive player. He's been in foul trouble multiple times, especially in the playoffs. Playoff games will happen. It gets competitive, and Draymond will, have 5 fouls in like the third quarter. And again, that's just Draymond being Draymond. And originally, I thought that the Warriors would have issues in that game, but because of the Draymond thing, but it didn't seem to be that bad. Again, the Warriors were struggling in that game, but it was more because of the Nuggets, not because of the Warriors themselves. Because, again, I really talk about team chemistry on the podcast. I talk about team chemistry importance and everything. And I really think team chemistry is important, and a lot of people ignore it. That's why I made a big deal about the Patrick Beverley, Russell Westbrook combination. But it seemed like it didn't really affect team chemistry that much, actually, which was surprising. And it seemed like, again, they just sort of accepted that it's Draymond will be Draymond, and they everything was cool after that, which is really good. So that's really all I have for Warriors Nuggets. Again, it was really good just seeing the Nuggets defense. I saw a lot of free throws that game. I'll have to look up the free throw count just to make sure I don't sound crazy. Here, let me look up Nuggets Warriors stats. Whenever I was watching it, it seemed like there were a lot of free throws, but that could just be my perception. So let me just double check real quick. So where is it? So the Nuggets only had 2 blocks that game. That's surprising. I was talking about their defense, so I thought they would have more, but it says there's only 2 in the box score. They did have 10 steals though. So free throws, there were 25 free throw attempts by the Nuggets, and then 27 free throw attempts by the Warriors. So yeah, there was a lot of free throws that game, it seemed like, which was interesting because, again, that just comes from fouling, that comes from defense, that sort of thing. They had 41 rebounds compared to the Warriors' 35 rebounds. So again, just going into defense, 29 defensive rebounds. They almost had as many defensive rebounds as the Warriors had rebounds total. So, I mean, that just goes to show their intensity when recovering the ball, especially when they have somebody like Jokic. But let's go ahead and go into the next game. So, the next game I have on here is the Celtics Heat. And really what I want to talk about is Tyler Herro, because Tyler Herro, has been going on for years about how he deserves to be starting. He's been playing on the bench. He's been scoring like crazy off the bench. He's an excellent 6-man on all that. So he feels he deserves a spot on the starting roster. And they said that Tyler Herro was going to start this season. And whenever I first saw that, I was like, interesting. Let's see how this plays out. And it played out about exactly as well as I thought it would, which is Tyler Herro didn't play bad, but his addition to the starting lineup caused other people to play bad because the rest of the starters aren't adjusted to playing with another addition like that. And also, Tyler Herro inversely is the same way. Tyler Herro is not used to playing with good starters on the floor with him. And what do I mean by that? Well, again, the NBA sort of broke down the game and said that one of the reasons that the Heat lost that game is because their bench was not scoring well. Their bench is not very deep, and so whenever the starters are out, they really struggle. Um, and so whenever they have Tyler Herro starting now, you're taking that away from the bench, so your bench is even less deep. So your bench is going to be scoring even worse. And then also, whenever Tyler was coming off the bench, again, the bench isn't that deep, so he can take more shots. He can take more shot opportunities because he knows that he is one of the better performing people off the bench. But now he gets put in the starting lineup with people like Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Bam Adebayo. Well, there's only so many shot opportunities in a game. And so now the ball has to be divided up between everybody on the starting lineup. And so let me see if I can pull up the um, shot attempts. Because, again, Kyle Lowry and Bam Adebayo's shot attempts were not that high because Tyler Herro was taking more shots on the starting lineup, which causes Kyle Lowry and Bam Adebayo to have less shot opportunities. So this is from NBA News, so I'll go ahead and quote it because, again, I read this and they phrased it really well. So this is quote from NBA.com/news. The Herro transition shoved a stick into Miami's gears, with the NBA's 2021 to 2022 Kia six-man now forced to find the 17 shots he averaged last season in the starting lineup. If he doesn't take them from Jimmy Butler, then Adebayo and Kyle Lowry are the ones most likely to be pilfered. In the opener, Lowry took 7, made only 1, and scored 2 points. Adebayo got up 15 points, got up 15 but made just 5. So Lowry goes 4 for 13, and Adebayo. Okay, they don't have Adebayo's shot attempts for the full game on here. But it says got up 15 but made 5. So we'll go with that. But again, it says in the opener, Lowry took only 7. And whenever Herro was on the bench, he was shooting 17 shots. So now they sort of have to find the balance, which they aren't used to, of how many shots do each of these players take. And excuse me, my phone is going off like crazy right now. Let me go ahead and mute that chat real quick, just so that doesn't happen. This happens almost once per recording. I need to just turn my phone off like all the way whenever I record, and I keep forgetting to. I keep telling myself I need to do that, and then I just don't. Anyway, yes, Tyler Herro. So I'm sort of repeating myself, so I think you guys get the idea. Tyler Herro needs to keep his shot attempts up, but by keeping his shot attempts up, he's going to take those shot attempts away from either Jimmy Butler, which is a bad idea because Jimmy Butler is your franchise player, or he's going to take them away from Lowry and Bam Adebayo. So they have to figure out a balance, and that is just going to take time. And it may not work this season. It may not even work next season. It just really depends. And if it doesn't work out this season, we could easily see Tyler Herro going back to the bench again simply because they can't, even if he is playing like a starter off the bench, he can't balance himself with other starters, if that makes sense. The other thing with the Celtics Heat, and we'll talk about it again with the Celtics 76ers, is Smart and Tatum's team chemistry. So the against the 76ers, they both scored 70, and then uh, against the Heat, they both had at least 25 points, I think. Uh, and I was talking to my roommate about it, funnily enough, and I said, like, oh yeah, Tatum and Smart scored 70 together, and his response was, why couldn't they have done that in the playoffs? Which was really funny, because again, they just couldn't seem to make things work in the playoffs, um, with defense versus Warriors offense, or their offense was not outscoring the Warriors offense, because again, the Warriors offense has a Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, and so on. Um, and so we're really seeing Smart and Tatum once again take off this season, which is sort of unexpected. I won't say unexpected. Unexpected is the wrong word. Um, I'll say contrary. It's very contrary to what was happening last season, because if you remember at the start of the season, Marcus Smart was having interviews where he was talking about he never gets the ball, um, and uh, he Tatum was. I made videos about Tatum was playing hero ball. Tatum was trying to do everything himself. So it really seems like the team internally probably talked about that while going over film or going over practice, and they have addressed those issues, which really was one of their big issues. And so now they're playing amazing again, and we could easily see the Celtics, if they keep this trend going, we could see the Celtics go on another very deep run in the playoffs again. Of course, it's too early to say because it's only 2 games into the season, but if they keep playing like that, it'll be really exciting to see. And then also the Heat defense. So the Heat defense was very off and on. The Heat defense did cause 20 turnovers for the Celtics, but they ended up losing the game because even though they were forcing turnovers for the Celtics, they were still leaving a lot of like open shots and just easy buckets, and it's like, okay, you should have defended that a little better. So it was very gray, very off and on, very iffy for the Heat defense. They had a lot of hot moments and they had a lot of really bad moments. So I'm sure that they're going to talk about that, because the Heat for a while, especially with Bam Adebayo and when they had PJ Tucker, was known for being a really good defensive team. And now it seems like, again, things are very off and on. Their defense comes in burst, which is obviously not what you want with the defense. You want the defense to be really good to prevent the other team from obviously outscoring you, which is actually what we're about to get into with the Bucks here, because that was one of the Bucks' biggest struggles as well. So with the Bucks 76ers, we saw Harden is back to, everybody's going hype saying Harden is back. And I think there is some validity to that, because Harden is scoring 30 points in the season opener and then 30 points against the Bucks. So we are seeing sort of the old James Harden come back, which is interesting. And I know it's sort of a meme that James Harden always gets fit in the offseason, and then once the season starts, he's like really non-fit again, like out of shape. So it's like every offseason we get catfished into thinking that Harden is a beast. And then when the season starts, he's like garbage again. And it's happened for like the last 3 seasons. But now the off-season, photos came out and everybody was like, "Oh, Harden is a beast. Harden's in shape again." And I blew him off. I was like, "Yeah, but this happens every season. This happens for the last like 2-3 seasons." And I was even talking to my manager about it, because my manager is likes Philly, and he's sort of into basketball as well, and again, we had this conversation where he said, "Oh, have you seen the Harden photos? Have you seen the Harden photos?" And I was like, "Man, it's whatever. This happens all the time where Harden gets in shape and then he comes to the season and he doesn't perform like he's been working out all off season." And he was like, "Nah, this season's gonna be different." And so far, again, it's too early to say because it's only 2 games in. But so far, Harden is scoring 30 a night. So maybe for once, the off-season photos are actually proving to be a decent change with Harden. And then on the defense side of things, Drew Holiday's defense was insane, and I have always preached Drew Holiday's. Or did I say James Harden's defense? I might have said that. I don't know. Uh, but anyway, Drew Holiday's defense was insane. I always preached Drew Holiday's defense, and he was playing like it was a playoff game, which was insane to see because it's only the second game of the season, and or actually I think it was the first game for the Bucks because I think the Bucks are 1-0 right now. Um, it's so first game coming back, Drew Holiday is just going off with defense, which again is amazing to see because in uh I will always remember the Bucks Sun finals where Drew Holiday was just a fucking menace on defense, and I will always just watch highlights of Drew Holiday versus the Suns because I'm sorry, Drew Holiday had that dog in him on defense whenever he was playing against the Suns. It was amazing to see, and then to come and watch Drew Holiday be like, it's the first game of the season. I don't give a fuck. Like, I am playing my heart out on defense, like, as if he's playing the Suns again. It was just, oh, it was so exciting to see just Drew Holiday just ripping balls out of people. Like, that sounds wrong. But just ripping the ball away from people and just going nuts. I always love seeing Drew Holiday's defense because he plays angry whenever he plays defense that well, and it's so exciting to see. But again, Drew Holiday's defense played a huge role in the win against the 76ers as well. So obviously Drew Holiday's defense is important. I know I keep hyping it up because it looks cool to see, but it looks cool to see because I don't know. Again, he plays angry whenever he does it, and that leads to good defense and winning games. And then also Brook Lopez. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't paid much attention to Brook Lopez because he sort of goes under the radar because just based on the fact that he's playing alongside Giannis, which Giannis is also, even though he plays power forward, Giannis is also sort of a center. So the actual center of the Bucks, which is Brook Lopez, sometimes gets like overshadowed. But Brook Lopez really put up a really good defensive game against Embiid. And Embiid only shot 6 for 21 in that game. And that was because Brook Lopez was guarding him really closely. And so it may mean that the Bucks and other teams have really come up with a strategy against Embiid, and if that's the case, then Harden will have to step up even more with him scoring 30 and everything if they're able to lock down Embiid. So that's where we may see more of the Harden Embiid team coming together more and how they work that out. If they're able to lock down Embiid, if we see Harden shine a little bit more. And then also PJ Tucker's defense. So I had talked about this during one of the off-season episodes. I said that PJ Tucker actually will be a really important part of the 76ers because he brings such excellent defense. So again, his defense was important with the Bucks. His defense was important with the Heat. And now his defense is important with the 76ers. So they started PJ Tucker at the 5, or they had PJ Tucker at the 5, I should say, while Embiid was on the bench because Embiid was getting locked up. And PJ Tucker was all right on offense, but again, his defense had a really big impact. Even though the Bucks ended up winning the game, I think I read that while PJ Tucker was defending, the 76ers outscored an 11-2 run. So again, just defense is becoming more important uh, in this season's game, in this era's game, in this decade's game. Um, I've talked about on countless episodes the shift from defense to offense with the 3-point line, and now it's shifting back to defense. And with games like the Bucks 76ers, we really see that with Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, PJ Tucker, and we saw it in the playoffs last year again with the Heat, the Cavaliers. Even though the Cavaliers ended up losing the play-in, I really do think, and I've said it multiple times, if Jarrett Allen was healthy, they would have won that. And yeah, it just comes down to defense. And PJ Tucker, despite losing, played excellent defense that game. And also, the last thing I want to talk about with the Bucks 76ers, which is probably the most important thing, is the Bucks pushed the pace, and they were also able to pace themselves. So, again, the 76ers were playing a little slow, which it seems like is honestly sort of become their thing now, unfortunately. Like last year, I had commented on the fact that the 76ers, like they weren't showing that much energy. So the Bucks were able to use that against them and make a lot of points in transition and a lot of fast breaks. But also that comes at a cost because a lot of the times with the Bucks, we usually end up losing in the fourth quarter. Especially in that Celtics series, y'all saw, we took it to 7 games. We were winning like for the first couple quarters of that game 7, and then the third quarter came around, the fourth quarter came around, and we started to fall behind. And the more we fell behind, the more we fell behind, the slower we became, and the slower we became, the more and more we just kept falling behind until we ended up losing that game 7. And it seems that's what happens with most Bucks games when we end up losing, is the Bucks will go off for like the first half or even the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter comes around and we have no energy, and we just finish we finish weak. And so I feel like that is something that the Bucks are trying to work on this season. Again, it's only 1 game. But they really were able to pace themselves this game, and they finished the game out. And so I think it's really good that they're starting to learn how to pace themselves a little bit more, even though Chris Middleton is out. So again, this is only the first game with Chris. When Chris Middleton comes back, we could see that pace start to get a little too fast again, where they start to put out too much energy at the beginning. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But that was sort of the thing that I saw. So LA versus LA, the Clippers versus the Lakers. So I'm going to go into big returns here in a minute, such as Kawhi and Zion and everything. But Kawhi returned, and he had to play with John Wall, which, again, I'll get into with returns. But they both had about 20 minutes, and they both scored about 14, 15 points. So I think it's just a matter of Kawhi obviously being gone for so long and getting readjusted, but also it's a matter of sort of like the Tyler Herro thing, but in a different way, like them balancing out each other. And again, I'm going to get more into that here in a second. So we can actually focus more on the Lakers side of things real quick. So obviously everybody wants to meme on Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook finished with only 2 points, and he shot like 0 for 11. But he did end up having 5 steals. And so that caught me off guard, like, wow, 5 steals, because Russell Westbrook is not a defensive player. there are some players that are known more for their defense. Again, like Drew Holiday, Bam Adebayo, defensive player of the years and stuff like that. And Russell Westbrook obviously is not one of them. Russell Westbrook for his career averaged about 1.4 steals a game, 1.5 somewhere in there. It was under 2. Pretty much every season he averaged under 2 steals a game. But then he comes out and he has 5 steals. But Russell Westbrook's defensive rating is 113, which again is not great. So it'll be interesting to see how the Lakers sort of deal with that, because originally they said they were going to put him on the bench, but they didn't. But he went out and he shot, obviously, like, I don't like calling players garbage, but again, he shot 0 for 11, so he played garbage, needless to say. But he had 5 steals. So yeah, it's just interesting. Again, the Lakers will have to do something with that, because again, he isn't a defensive player, but all of his stats were in defense that game. So it'll be interesting to see which path they take with that. With LeBron, however, LeBron had sort of commented on it and said, "We are not a shooting team." I'm sure all of you saw that. And again, we've talked, I don't want to go too much in depth with this because we've talked about it several times before, but the Lakers' biggest issue is spacing, and I don't think that's a secret to anyone now. That's why Russell Westbrook's been struggling so much. That's why the Lakers as a team have struggled so much. They have no three-point shooters. They just simply don't, and even LeBron said it. So that's something they just have to fix. And it's not going to happen this season because you can't just train. Well, I mean, I won't say you can't, but it's very difficult to just train somebody that can't shoot three-pointers into shooting three-pointers. Like, there has to be some foundation there to work off of, and the Lakers don't really have anyone like that right now. And then obviously there was the whole meme about Patrick Beverley and the missed alley-oop to Austin Reeves. Yeah, there was I saw there was a bunch of memes about that. Everybody was saying, like, oh, if Alex Caruso was still on the team, Alex Caruso would have caught that lob. And then Patrick Beverley, he has a huge ego. And so everybody was posting the LeBron D. Wade picture and saying, this is what Patrick Beverley thought would happen. So that was pretty funny. And then just the last thing for LA versus LA. AD took a massive fall, and after the game, everybody was interviewing him to see if he was all right. And honestly, man, I don't want to see him get injured because obviously I don't want to wish ill will on everybody. But if he does, man, that's just rough. Like, he's going to get memed the fuck out of if he gets injured again this year because he already has the nickname Always Damaged. He had come out and said that he wants to play more minutes this season and he's determined to not be injured. And then he just takes one fall like in the second game of the season and everybody's asking him if he's okay, if he's injured. And he said he would be all right, but it's just so memeable and laughable at this point, the amount of times that AD just trips over somebody or something and just he stubs his toe and then he's out for 3 months or something crazy. Just the little damage that AD can take without getting injured. So last game on here, and then I will talk about big returns, and this sort of leads into it. So Nets versus Pelicans. So Kyrie scored only 15 points that game. So I think it's fair to say that is not normal for Kyrie. So it was a little bit of an off night for him. And it's sort of weird to see Kyrie score that low. So I don't really have much else to say on that. It's just like that's not Kyrie. Um, so I definitely do think that he can score better and he can do better. Also, Seth Curry at this point is injured as well. So again, the NBA was sort of talking about it and making a joke about how the Nets team has still, to this day, never been fully equipped. Um, like there's always been at least one injury to a key player or a starting player. Either Kyrie wasn't playing, or Harden wasn't playing, or KD was injured, or Ben Simmons didn't play. So now Kyrie, KD, and Simmons are all playing, but now Seth Curry's injured. So the team still has not fully played as a full team. And that also leads into sort of the next thing, which is the team is not adjusted to each other. Despite the fact that obviously KD and Kyrie are adjusted to each other because they want to keep playing with each other. But Ben Simmons is not adjusted to the Nets. Other people are not going to be adjusted to Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is not adjusted to Kyrie and KD. And yeah, they just need more practice again as a full unit. And that sort of leads me into obviously people coming back. So the Nets played the Pelicans. So Zion came back and he played incredible. And I told people that Zion was going to come out and he was going to fucking play. And that's exactly what he did. So Zion scored 25 points, 9 rebounds on 11 of 22 shooting for 30 minutes. So I was a little surprised and disappointed that he didn't get a double-double. But again, I made a whole video about Zion. I said, do not underestimate Zion because he will come back and he will go off. Everybody's saying that he's been injured for too long. All he does is eat. And even before he had the pictures come out of, his transformation and all the Naruto memes and stuff like that, I said he was going to be a problem when he returned. And then he returned and he's a problem. So Pelicans, as crazy as it is to say, the Pelicans are a team to watch again finally. Because now they have, and I had addressed this before. I said, because the Pelicans were doing so bad, they were able to trade well because people were sort of going under the radar with trades. The team as a whole was going under the radar. And so it was like, oh, the Pelicans got CJ McCollum. Cool. Anyway, they got Brandon Ingram. Cool. Anyway, like they just saw the trade and didn't really talk much about it. And it seems that people didn't really seem to comprehend that they got these two players and they also have Zion. So once Zion comes back, they don't just have CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram. They have Zion lurking in the shadows, ready to come back from his injury. And that's exactly what happened. They have CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion all going crazy, going nuts. And the Pelicans are going to be a team to watch this season. Again, as crazy as it sounds, it is to say and hear, the Pelicans are going to be a threat. I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to be a deep playoff run team or any big threat like that, but as in big threat, I think that they're gonna win some games this season. I think that the Pelicans can definitely make the playoffs, and like not even through the play-in. I think that like honestly the Pelicans can make like the 8th seed. Yeah. Like, I don't think they're going to be a play-in team like the 9th or 10th seed. They can honestly jump up all the way to like the eighth seed. Uh, it's gonna be insane. Uh, so again, the whole Kawhi thing that I mentioned earlier, Kawhi is sort of having to learn how to play with John Wall. Both have been gone for a while, and it was always a big deal about get Kawhi more help, get Paul George more help. They're two bigs, so they need a guard to play with, and so now they have John Wall, and so again, Kawhi's having to adjust to come back, to coming back. John Wall's adjusting to coming back, and they sort of have to learn how to play off each other because Kawhi, for so long, ever since he left the Spurs, has been used to carrying a team. And then John Wall was used to sort of having a little. Whenever he was playing in Houston, obviously playing really well as well. So now they have to balance out each other where they have to share the ball more. And Kawhi has to learn, like, okay, we got this help for you, use it. And so they both had 15 points, again, with Kawhi having 21 minutes, I think it was, and John Wall having 25 minutes. And so they're both scoring about the same. So it's good to see that they're sort of balancing the ball out and everything. And then the coach had said that they got a little bit less minutes because they had to play their bench more and everything like that. So again, it'll just be interesting to see like how they balance the ball between each other and also how the coach balances the minutes. And then with back to the Nets Pelicans thing, I should have done this right after I did Zion instead of putting Kawhi in the middle of the two, but Ben Simmons had 23 minutes, and despite having 23 minutes, only scored 4 points and fouled out against the Pelicans. Ben Simmons had 6 fouls in that game. So, yeah. I mean, there isn't much I can say about it other than that's simply just bad. There's no other way for me to put it. And you know what? I didn't have this in my notes, but I'll go ahead and do it. Just for you guys. Let me grab something real quick right behind me for you video watchers, or for you audio listeners. I'll be back in like 10 seconds. I'm just going to roll my chair behind me. All right. Some of you OGs know what I just grabbed. And for, again, you audio listeners, I'm about to say what I just grabbed. Loser of the week. I have not done loser of the week in probably 10 episodes, maybe even more. Nathan Burnett, loser of the week. You know, the golden toilet trophy. I know it says March Madness up here for you video watchers, but that's just what it came with. I'm gonna try and put like a green screen, like a green thing right here or something, so I can green screen it. But I haven't done loser of the week in a while. So again, Nathan Burnett, loser of the week. I think it's obvious. Ben Simmons. Again, I just said 23 minutes, 4 points, 6 fouls. Come on, man. It doesn't get much worse. I mean, you can make an argument for Russell Westbrook to be loser of the week because, again, Russell Westbrook only scored 2 points, and they were off free throws because he went 0 for 11. But both Ben Simmons and Russell Westbrook were playing shit. So, just like shit, it goes in the toilet. Nathan Burnett, loser of the week. Yeah, just... I can't say much else. Just yikes. 4 points in over 20 minutes. Yeah. So let me go ahead and put this back real quick. All right. So, last couple things on here, and we might even hit an hour like almost perfectly because we're 50 minutes in right now, and I think these last few topics, we might go a little bit over an hour. I don't know. We'll see. So, Jazz versus Nuggets. there isn't much specifically I want to talk about the game. Just sort of the again going with the returns thing. Porter Jr. came back and he shot 5 out of 10, and Murray shot 5 for 13. And I think it just goes back to sort of the thing I was saying with other teams where Jokic has not played with these guys for a while. And so because of that, it's just going to take getting used to for Jokic to not have to basically do everything every single game now. Obviously, like he won MVP because he was putting the team on his back and everything like that. And now he has these players again that that he can share the ball with, and it makes things easier. But he just sort of has to remember, like, okay, I have more help again now. So that gives Porter and Murray more opportunities. But at the same time, if they're given more opportunities, they have to make those opportunities. And Porter Jr., I can't remember if it was Porter Jr. that said it or Murray that said it, but one of them said, it just takes time. It takes getting used to again. And yeah, again, they haven't played in a while, so it's just a matter of just getting back into the rhythm of things. And we'll see how they do as the rest of the season goes on. So now we get into some exciting stuff that doesn't really have to do with games specifically. So shout out to Clan the Spurs fans Discord. I will actually put a link in the description for it because there are a lot of really smart people in there, a lot of really really dedicated basketball fans, and whenever anything like exciting happens or anything important happens, they post it in Clan's Discord immediately, especially obviously if it has to do with the Spurs, because sort of Clan's whole channel and so his fan base is based around the Spurs, much like mine is. But this one sort of has to do with the whole league, but also, again, because of the Spurs, has sort of an importance on the Spurs. So, again, it was posted to Clan's Discord, like, immediately. And it was this article, which, let me see if I can put it on screen here. So, Adam Silver says NBA monitoring serious tanking issues, sources say. So I'm not going to read through this whole article. I encourage you guys to read it. Again, it's the link is right here because I'm sharing my screen. And then obviously the article title is right there. But he called it a serious issue, and they're having hundreds of meetings about it. And obviously, a lot of teams are tanking for Victor, but he didn't say it was because of Victor, but he knows it's where people are tanking for Victor, even though he didn't outright say. And he said he notified teams that they're going to change the way tanking works, and they might change the way the draft works. And this was something that people were sort of debating in Clan's chat, and the wording is sort of weird on this. But in such a scenario, Silver told employees relegation would essentially mean demoting the worst one or two teams to the G League while promoting the best team or two from the G League to the NBA. It would be so disrupt our business model, told employees, and even if you took two teams up from the G League, they wouldn't be equipped to compete in the NBA. So it was the way it sounded to me was that somebody had basically said, like, oh, why don't we demote teams or promote teams? And Silver was like, you can't do that. Like, the G League teams aren't good enough for the NBA, as well as, like, you can't just demote teams like that. Like, you just can't. Like, if a team has been around for decades. Like, again, this is like the Spurs, for instance. This is the Spurs like 50th anniversary year. Like, you can't just say like, oh, the Spurs aren't an NBA team anymore. So yeah. Um, but in an effort to reduce tanking, the NBA flattened draft odds in 2019. So teams with the 3 worst regular seasons each have a 14 chance of winning. Before that, the team with the worst had a 25%, second 19, third 15 chance, etc. But again, the tanking is still an issue because, again, Victor Wembanyama, and they even say in the article here that like Victor is a franchise-altering player. So like half of the NBA right now is tanking for him. And Victor or Silver basically wants to stop that because, again, if teams are tanking, the NBA isn't going to be as competitive, which, again, is understandable. And I had talked about this, again, sort of in Clan's Discord about, and like, Silver just wants the league to be more competitive because a lot of more casual fans will tune into the NBA towards playoff time. Because the regular season, with there being 82 per team, there's just so many games that it sort of ruins the importance of each game, and the games don't seem A, that competitive, or B, like that important to watch until it starts to get towards the end of the season where it affects playoff rankings and conference rankings and stuff like that. And then obviously with the playoffs, you're facing elimination. But he wants more games to feel more competitive and sort of take on that playoff aesthetic of being more competitive and more important. So he says here, teams are smarter, they are creative, and they respond. We move, they move, so we're always looking to see whether there's yet a better system. Silver was also asked about league expansion, but he said that would sorry, I lost my train of thought. Silver was asked about expansion, but again, that becomes an issue because if you add more teams, there's more games. If there's more games, then the importance of the games get diluted. And it just becomes less important with the games become less important when there's more games in the future that you can win and lose, and your win or loss from one game isn't necessarily going to affect the rest of isn't going to affect you as much because there's so many other games. So yeah, he says it right here. Silver also discussed the potential dilution of talent, that is, adding more teams would weaken the overall product. None of us can remember going into the season where there was a perception of so much competition, but still the goal is to have 30 competitive teams, not 20. So think we do pay attention to the dilution factor. Silver said the league is overall doing well, and there is no shortage of strong candidates for new teams in new cities, though he didn't name any specific cities. Las Vegas and Seattle are likely candidates, yada, yada, yada. That gets into league expansion. But again, he wants all 30 teams to be competitive. And I think that's just normal. That's expected for any business. Competition leads to more views. More views means more money. And he just wants all the games to be important, which, again, I sort of touched on. The other thing that I have on here is LeBron versus Kareem. So I'll talk more on this when he actually breaks the record, but as of last night, on the 21st, they reported that LeBron is 1,274 points behind Kareem. Obviously, they're only 2 games into the season, but he's averaging about 25 points per game. So you divide that and you get 50.71. So obviously you need to take the ceiling of that, meaning round it up. So 51 games, he will break the record. So if he picks up the pace, he could break it sooner, obviously. If he slows down from 25 points per game, it may take a few more games. But I think needless to say, LeBron will break the record this season. And I can't promise anything, but I will try and get tickets to that game. And we'll see what happens. Obviously, if the tickets go to like 2,000 like they did with Steph Curry, I'm not going to get one. But I'm going to try my best to mathematically guess which game it's going to be. So with my math right now, it's going to be the Pacers game in February. But again, with it only being 2 games into the season, that's going to change most likely based on his points per game. But yeah, obviously that will be a historic night. Hey guys, just real quick here at the end. I'm using my laptop mic, so the quality's a little bad on the video. But for some reason, my recording cut off like right after I talked about LeBron and Kareem. But the last thing on the episode, it was literally the last thing I talked about. So luckily, it didn't cut out like half the episode or something dumb. Basically, I ended it right after the LeBron and Kareem stuff. So it was just end of the episode announcements. But I didn't want to just cut the episode off right there because obviously that's like a weird ending. So all I said was if you watch the video, go support the audio versions as well on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. As well as if you already watched the audio versions, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, all that good stuff. We're like a little bit over 25 subs away from 500, so it'd be really great to hit 500 here soon. And got some real cool videos coming up here soon that I think you'll really enjoy. I really do think it's like some of my best videos that I've ever put out. All that good stuff. And that was really it. So Nathan Burnett, episode 34. I will see you guys here in the next one. Peace out.